This is your Town Council debrief for November the 16th, 2021 meeting. The debrief will take you through the key issues being discussed by Council and provide a bit more information on what they mean for the town. This week's Council meeting began with a public hearing regarding a proposed new development in town. The Planning Act, which is a provincial piece of legislation, requires municipalities to hold a public hearing for several reasons related to development. In this case, it is for a proposal to amend a zoning bylaw, on specifically zoning bylaw 3184-18. All of the Town of Neepawa's bylaws, including this one, are available to read on the Town of Neepawa website at www.neepawa.ca. One of the other requirements of a public hearing is that notice be given to the public about where and when the hearing will be taking place, to give people an opportunity to respond to it, whether it be in person or in writing. Notice for this hearing could be seen in the Neepawa Banner and Press as well as online. This amendment asks that a piece of land that is zoned as industrial light zoned be changed to residential mobile modular home zone. The overall proposal is for a subdivision of 140 sites on the west side of town to be developed in phases over the next few years. A subdivision of that size has a lot of additional considerations that the Council acknowledges in its discussion. A map of the proposed development can be seen on the developer's website at crescentcreekestates.ca. Jeff Braun, Development Officer, and a representative from the applicant address Council and respond to questions regarding the development. CAO Colleen Sinchishin also addresses the town's role and responsibilities in the development process.
Okay, Jeff, I think you're up.
Sure. So this is bylaw 3207-21, and the general intent of this bylaw is a map amendment. It's for the Town of Neepawa zoning map, being attached to and being part of the Town of Neepawa zoning bylaw number 3184-18 as amended, is hereby further amended in order that lands described as follows: lots 1 and 2, plan 6081, Neepawa Land Titles Office, located in the part southeast 3214-15 in the Town of Neepawa, as shown outlined in a heavy solid line on a map attached hereto and marked as Schedule A, and made part of the amending bylaw number 3207-21, is to be rezoned from its current ML Industrial Light Zone to the RMH Residential Mobile Modular Home Zone. And this amendment will allow for future residential development of these lands.
Okay.
I think we have a representative of the applicant here.
Okay.
Warren Mills, right?
Yes.
So if
Airwarner, did you want to come up and speak, or do you want to speak from there, or can you give me his seat?
I gave Council a copy of the proposal as well, just for the review. So.
Well, thank you for welcoming me to your community on a nice evening. Daryl and Cedric, the developers, are very upbeat and positive with regards to their community and the opportunity that this presents. I am their project manager. I will be probably the face of the project over the next few years. I'm a graduate of the University of Manitoba Faculty of Architecture, and I hold a master's in project management from Schulich Business School at York University. I've done this before, and we pride ourselves in working on a collaborative, non-confrontational, problem-solving approach to issues. And we look forward to having really good lines of communication so that none of us are surprised or disappointed. We look forward to getting into the project. And we understand that tonight is an important hurdle in that path. So we look forward to your positive support of our intentions. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to speak to them either now, or I'll remain afterwards if anybody would like to talk in general terms.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments right now?
This diagram that we're looking at, is that what we're going to be seeing?
Yes, in phases. It's approximately 140 sites. I don't think any in our wildest dreams would there be that absorption, that demand. but we believe it will be over a short few years. The marketing has commenced, and to answer your question directly, that is what you will see when we are finished. We want to sit down with your department and discuss a phased approach. Don't want to tear the whole place up. Want to build and fill, build and fill, build and fill. I think our planner's report has suggested possibly 4 phases. Those haven't been delineated yet. But to answer your question directly, what you see is what you will get.
So do you see everything going well, that you would be starting in 2022?
Yes, our plan is to have, old expression, shovels in the ground in late spring, early summer of 2022.
And that would be phase 1, I guess, is what
Yes.
you're suggesting. Eh?
Yeah. We have a lot of work to do with your administration to design that phasing.
Right.
The proposal seems to be moving at a healthy pace, and we hope we can maintain that momentum.
Have you done the drainage plan yet?
No, we have not. It's an expensive, it's a cost, and we would prefer, we expected the provincial requirement of a drainage plan, but we made the business decision to wait until we were confident that we had a project. But there will be a drainage plan fired up just as soon as we know that we're full speed ahead.
Okay.
It's a beautiful site, and we look forward to getting our teeth into it, and we think it will be successful.
Yeah,
So you say 4-phase project, where does phase 1 start us?
Do you mind if I take my mask off?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Thank you. We're not sure. If you're looking at it, the upper left corner is a piece of it that would, from a construction perspective, would phase nicely, but we're not sure how services will flow. To build a long line of services to get to the end of the road is not the best path.
Right.
So we have some work to do, as I said, with your administration. But ideally, that upper left corner with the center park was where we would like to get started. That's our preconception.
Crossing the creek with sewer and water, how would you propose getting the sewer line in
We haven't done any servicing design whatsoever, and it's a question that I've asked as well. We'll get an answer shortly.
there? Yeah, but that'll be your engineer's problem, not yours.
It always ends up on my own.
Yes, yeah.
But thank you for offering. It is an engineering constraint, and whether, how it's done will be interesting. I'm looking forward to the solution we get from engineering for that.
Okay, anybody else?
So just for my clarity, just for us as a community, this would fall solely under our mobile home fees that we have in place within our existing trailer parks, correct?
We're currently looking at how we would possibly amend it as another bylaw as well, and probably need some updating.
Okay.
Well, one point I wanted to emphasize, and it's a changing world, but the trailer park historically were the 16 by 64 single wides that Bose built at Portage la Prairie and that sort of product. If you, very shortly, our webpage for this site will be up, including available designs and alternatives. We're not looking at 16 wide trailers. We're looking at 24 wide, 277 or 240 modular built homes. The world's come a long way from the trailer park.
If I'm correct, isn't it on the Crescent Creek website, this proposal? And some sample homes or something?
Yes, the Crescent Creek website. I saw a Delta version of it today. I don't know if it's up to date. I think they were correcting typos on it, but I know Daryl will get you the link as soon as we have it. We know it's up and running.
Yeah, I think they had something at the development plan, there was something I remember reviewing there.
Yeah, and I think you'll like it. We hope that the site will fill with more than one source of homes. Conquest Manufacturing out of Altona, Manitoba are very proud Made in Manitoba solutions, and I'd encourage anyone to go to their webpage. You'll see their product. They're our primary source. Triple M in Lethbridge, through Modular Building in Headingley are our second source. And they have some quality product that we like. We're also talking to Grandier in Winkler, and we're talking to Shelter, who we've been doing some work with in a 2-on subdivision that's moving in parallel to this.
Think you could convince one of them to operate, like we have industrial land to the east of town. It would probably bode better for them if they were building on site here and smaller move. Like I get they need to have a location just to build so they can maximize their labor. That would be a good plus.
It certainly would, and it would be ideal. The problem with, and I've done a lot of work with manufactured and modular housing, it's a skinny business. They use every scrap and every piece, and their labor, in parallel. It takes so long to get a modular building plant up to a productive speed. You have 6 workstations, 24 employees. Someone doesn't make it, and the entire bicycle chain is broken. So it's a slowly developed industry that I don't know that we have the time to get to, but there will be an awful lot of on-site construction with foundations, sewer and water, roads, secondary buildings. Any garages or secondary structures will be purchased and built locally. Our primary supplier right now works exclusively with, I believe, Dauphin Co-op for their building material supply. So we're not in the community yet, but I think you'll feel us when we are here.
Deputy Mayor Head, did you have a comment?
Oh, no, I just wondered, I think he explained it, like I just saw there was 3 different versions here, but if you're dealing with 5 or 6 different companies, then there's going to be multiple.
That site's going to expand. We gave you a sample of some ideas. Ultimately, the consumer, what people want will be what we will build. We're not fond of telling people this is it. It will be, this is what's available.
So when you say modular, are we gonna have the same constraints here as far as minimum sizes once we're moving these structures in like we've had with
1,000 square feet.
minimum?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
That's okay.
We've reviewed your existing bylaws, your planner shared them with us, and we have no concerns.
Okay, great.
Okay, anybody else?
Anything else I can answer or help with?
I'll just touch on a bit of the circulation process. So the bylaw was circulated. It was in the local newspaper on two occasions. As it's affecting a specific property, it was also sent to property owners within 100 meters of that property. Of those, there's been no public engagement locally. It also has been circulated through provincial departments through the zoning process. Of the provincial departments, there's been 2 noted of no objections, but they do have a few requirements, and that's from Manitoba Infrastructure and Westman Cable. And Manitoba Infrastructure, they're looking for, as a condition of approval, written confirmation is required from our department that drainage is not an issue, or that the applicant has adequately addressed a drainage issue. The applicant will have to provide our regional technical service engineer in Brandon with information necessary to ensure drainage from this site would not adversely affect the provincial highway system. If necessary, the regional engineer may request the applicant to submit a detailed drainage plan prepared by qualified experts. Cost study or revisions of the highway drainage system are directly associated with the proposed development and will be the responsibility of the developer. They give a contact information for that. And also, Westman Communications was the other one, and they are interested in this proposed development and may require easements and joint construction. I would also just like to note a couple, there was some alternate comments which should be addressed, which these comments came up through provincial circulation through our, through the planning board development amendment. And very similar, but they were a little more elaborate on what they were requesting, and this was also from Manitoba Infrastructure. And we have concerns that traffic generated by this development may have an impact on traffic operations for both PTH 5 and 16. Therefore, we require the developer to provide some preliminary traffic projections. They gave contact information for that. Based on this information, our department will determine if a more detailed traffic impact study is required. If required, the study is to be prepared by a qualified engineer and will determine what impact the traffic generated by this development will have on traffic operations at this location and what, if any, on highway improvements will be required. And then also this is the same one, it's the written confirmation required from a department for the drainage is not an issue, or the applicant has addressed the drainage issue. So the number 2 was the same, but the previous recommendation was in the other one. I think that was the only notable ones. Yes, that was correct. So those were comments that we received. They weren't necessarily anything that the planning district would act on, as it's more of a localized specific thing. So those would be up for the council's consideration.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Okay, we are back to the resolutions of the zoning amendment bylaw. Do we have any further discussion on that before we do?
I'll give you just a little quick summary of what was said. This is a resolution on your agenda tonight. The gentleman that appeared at the public hearing a little earlier in the evening in support of a roughly 40-acre parcel to be used for mobile modular homes. He has proceeded through the development plan amendment stage. Third reading has not been given to that bylaw yet, so after this you will give second reading to the bylaw for the zoning amendment. That's all we're asking you to do tonight. This will be your only chance, because he's not subdividing that property, to actually take a look at the Planning Act, and specific section 150, which would allow you, because of basically the sheer size of the particular parcel under question that's going to be developed, and the amount of housing that's going to go there, which is great. The point is, when you create that kind of housing, the impact on the services, the impact on the road, the impact on the drainage, the impact on basically everything in the community is a lot greater than what you would see if it was just a single-family residence subdivided off, or even a few, or just a multi-family unit. So the only chance council has at this stage for the town of Neepawa to start negotiating how those services are going to be installed for water and sewer, how the roads are going to be designed. Like I said, drainage, Jeff spoke about those things earlier, is right now before the passing of third reading of the zoning bylaw. So I have a resolution on here basically not citing out all of the terms we will require the developer to meet. We will go through the list as in the Planning Act. The things that are contained in our zoning bylaw that might speak to buffers and whatnot, we will flesh those all out in a development agreement and have that all set to before we give third reading to the bylaw, because this is your only opportunity. School, there's another thing, requirements in the Planning Act say that you can set aside basically a certain portion amount for public reserve and for schools, and in the absence of setting aside a specific amount of land, which is roughly no greater than 10%, you can have them set aside an amount equivalent in cash to the market value of what the property exists. That isn't money if you decide to do that we would keep. It goes directly to the schools. Should there be the necessity to add another school somewhere in Neepawa or construct an add-on or an addition of some sort, But we have to take those things into consideration, because as it was noted, if 140 does get achieved over there, that could have a great impact on school systems. So as we go through that, Jeff and I, and probably Denise and whoever else is available, will meet with the developers, and we'll determine what's the best scenario for Neepawa and what the requirements are going to be going forward. Having just since more previously over the last number of years developed a 40-acre parcel ourselves over here on the CN land, there is a significant amount of time and effort and money that has to be invested in there, and we're going to make sure that as our policies would begin to state, the developers have to be responsible for a lot of the infrastructure. It can't be borne by just general taxpayers in the community. So.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. I think I understand all that. Do we have any questions, any comments? Okay.
Councillor Gerard reports on the latest meeting of the White Mud Watershed Conservation District, including a review of their ongoing projects. The White Mud District was Manitoba's first conservation district, created in 1972, with a goal to foster and maintain a healthy, sustainable, diverse landscape capable of providing economic, social, and environmental benefits for current and future generations. The watershed is 2,747 square miles, divided into 8 subdivisions, and includes all or part of the municipalities of Rosedale, Minto-O'Donnell, North Cypress Langford, Westlake Gladstone, Glenella Lansdowne, Portage-la Prairie, North Norfolk, Alonza, McCreary, and Clan William Erickson.
Yes, the White Mud Watershed, our district met actually today, on the 16th at 9 a.m. And we just reviewed the past year, the upcoming year within our watershed. There are going to be no further funding requests for watershed. Currently we fund at 0.25 mil, and that's going to stay the same at that level. We reviewed some of the projects. A great number of the projects are still occurring east of Neepawa, whether it be along the Helston Drain, Dead Lake, areas like that. Talked a little bit about water storage. There are some phenomenal grow programs that are available for producers. If they do want to access some means of water storage and a number of other projects. We do have a couple of smaller water retention projects west of us, which I like to see because that slows the water that comes to Neepawa and those flood events. But as a whole, everything's working smoothly.
Operations Manager Denny Sake covers 2 key items during this week's meeting. Firstly, with our first snowfall of the year this past week, coming late this year with a huge dump of heavy, wet snowfall and ice across the region, he reviews the town's snow clearing process and how well it worked under the circumstances. He also addresses the reopening of both Davidson Street and Brown Avenue, which have been closed for several weeks due to construction. Both are gravel only at the moment and will remain in a settlement phase over the winter. They will be repaved in the spring.
Pretty light report, I'm prepared, kind of summarized quite a bit of it already. Staff and machinery went out early Friday. I was in communication with them the entire time, so just complicated matters, like I said, roads closed, collection day, carts in the way, cars in the way, so just a lot of fun stuff to deal with. But staff and contractors persevered. When I was through town on Saturday to just check everything out, I found most of the roads passable. Some of them had just received an extra blow-in, so we made sure that we were going to do a secondary grading on a lot of the roads just to tidy them up prior to doing full cleanup, which occurred on Monday. Other than that, I said regarding snow gates could not be utilized properly in a snowfall of this case. And you just have to understand that when the snow is that heavy, that wet in the beginning stages, aided by the fact that we start with some nice rain and ice up the bottom layer, it's very difficult for machinery to dig down and try to cut that and push and pull. And you throw a gate in there and they just can't move the snow. It's just not doable. Next snowfall, yeah, absolutely, more likely to utilize those gates, assuming it's nothing in excess of 6 inches.
Right.
Excuse me. So, all in all, went very well, very pleased, good response. Staff cleaned up the most part everything now. We'll tackle some of the back lanes starting tomorrow, tidy up some of those, and we have some later parts to do that. And then again, we have been doing sidewalks at the same time. We've got staff working on those, so. But overall, please, good response, everything nice and tidy, open up again, so.
Okay, and you're happy with Davidson?
Yes, it's back and open. We'll just let it firm up, so the gravel road might get a little mucky with some of the moisture now, if it doesn't freeze up too soon, and then spring will be a little dirty, but no, we've got the material in there. We can do a settlement phase, which is great, and then we'll line up paving for that in the spring.
And Brown Avenue beside the Kinsman Course?
That, I believe, has been opened up this afternoon, so that is passable. Same thing, we'll tidy all that stuff up again in spring, see what we have to do in those areas.
Yeah, I think the one comment that we heard, and you explained it tonight, was the snow gates, right? And I don't know if I even really understood it. So basically, just so I understand it, you're saying because the snow was so heavy to start with, right? Not only so much, but it was also so heavy.
When it's heavy and the volume is there, they just do not operate well.
Right. So it's just impossible for that machine to run down the road and have the snow gate attached.
Yeah.
So it's just something you can't do in a big snowfall like this.
No, it's unfortunate. And part of us to open everything up, so we have our roads back and open and past the stage.
Yeah, no, perfect. Okay, anybody else, any comments? Okay, thank you, Denise.
There's nothing new to see at Park Lake just yet, but design work is being finalized for rebuilding both the lake area and the golf course bridge downstream of it. Once the behind-the-scenes work is done, construction on the ground will begin in the next year. Council also resolves to add their name to a request to the federal government to cover retroactive pay for the RCMP officers employed in municipalities, which would go back several years and put undue strain on municipalities which hadn't budgeted for the expense and weren't involved in the negotiation process.
So this is just a little follow-up. I think I noted before, and I can't remember if we did it on public or not. We did send a letter, so it didn't come to resolution. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities is deciding to throw its support behind municipalities across Canada who are going to experience a significant increase in retroactive pay increases through the unionization of RCMP contracts, and then of course increases going forward. So our letter basically proposed that we're requesting the federal government to cover all the retroactive pay increases back to 2017 because we clearly did not budget for those, and it will be a significant dollar value going forward. I think with 4 members on slate, we can easily probably incorporate those increases, but to have to go back for years now and cover that difference, it is significant. So with the FTM putting their support behind municipalities, they actually want a resolution passed by council now to send in and help with the lobbying effort. So it's basically, I'll now read it as we go through it and looking how it will have an impact on communities and whatnot, and then we can set it off for the support of the Federation.
Okay. Okay, everybody's comfortable with that, we'll move forward with the resolution. Moved by Deputy Mayor Headley, seconded by Councilor Kosmachuk. Whereas the recent collective agreement between the RCMP and the National Police Federation includes a significant retroactive pay going back to 2017, as well as pay increases going forward, and whereas our municipality and others that depend on RCMP contract policing are facing significant unbudgeted costs that may force us to make very difficult choices at a time when our primary focus needs to be on economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas municipalities were not consulted at any stage of the negotiation process, despite the outcome of these negotiations having a direct and significant impact on municipal operations, and whereas RCMP cost increases will disproportionately impact rural communities, and whereas municipalities are eager to work more closely with other orders of government and the RCMP on contract policing issues to ensure the financial sustainability of contract policing and to maintain the service levels necessary for community safety. Therefore, be it resolved that the town of Neepawa joins the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in calling on the federal government to absorb all retroactive costs associated with the implementation of the new RCMP labor relations regime, and be it further resolved that the federal government should commit to ensuring municipalities are properly consulted prior to implementation of measures that impact local fiscal state sustainability and ability to maintain effective levels of police services in the communities. All in favor? Carried.
You can view end-to-end coverage of the Town Council meeting elsewhere in the NAC TV schedule, including immediately following this show. We welcome your feedback on this program, and if you have any questions or items that you'd like to see clarified or discussed, you can reach us at 204-476-2639 or email us at nactvnews@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.